Oh, I hope she's going to be able to cope with it. Come on, old girl, you can do it. Oh, yes.
Was it something you two boys were always into? You knew this is what you wanted to do?
Yeah, well, my Britain's farm was pretty big, so that says everything, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I'd rather wear out than rust out. If I had to sit around, or I could find stuff to do if I wanted to, but I don't really want to. I quite still enjoy it, and the bones creak a bit more, but I think I'll probably carry on as long as it's reasonable to do so, and when I feel as if I'm in the way, I'll go before I'm pushed.
Right, Will, just start us off then. Whereabouts are we and what do you boys do here?
So we're in South Staffordshire, next to a little village called Kinver. We're predominantly arable, and we've got a small suckler herd, and we do a livery yard as well. And we make a fair whack of hay and haylage for the livery market.
And how long has your family been farming here? What sort of scale are you farming now?
So we've been here since 1912. It was my great-grandfather, so I'm fourth generation, and we're farming 700 acres. 15-20 years ago it was probably the average size farm. Now it's not really. We need to do a few more acres, but it's pretty competitive around here.
Is that all owned then, or
no, partially it's on Envil Estates, and then we own some of our own ground as well. So we were sort of 500 acres of combinables, but that's dropped a bit because we've got spuds on the farm and stewardship and birdseed mixes, and then the rest is grazing, hay ground, and for the liveries. So
is that just recently you've started adding a few more crops into the rotation then?
No, we've actually streamlined it a lot. We were sort of 20 years ago in the mid-90s, we had sugar beet, potatoes, we had pigs, we had 2 dairy herds, and really the arable in terms of the combinable crops was sort of it wasn't really that big of a deal. It was more of the milk and the spuds and the sugar beet. But as time's gone on, we've gone out the pigs, gone out of the sugar beet when the factory closed, and then sold the milk and herd in 2006, and that's when we put a livery yard in where the milkers were, and started making a load of hay.
My great-grandfather was a printer in Edgbaston, and I think they were F.C Osborne, and my grandfather, Frank Clive, decided he didn't want to do the printing thing, so he took himself up to Harper Adams in 1910 and started up at Union Hall here in 1912, took on the tenancy. So it's grown from there. So I'm third generation, and then of course I've got James and William as well following on now. I used to spend a lot of time with the cowmen years ago, milking in an old milking bale with shorthorn cattle. I think I was about 4 or 5. I used to go and watch him milk the cows, and it's something you grow up with and grow to love, I think. there were 8 men working here years ago, compared to 3 now, and of course we've cut out a lot of enterprises.
So why do you think farming's changed like that over the years then? Why do you think the workforce has sort of got smaller?
Well, it's the pressure, the financial pressure for one thing, and trying to be more efficient. Everything's more mechanised. It's simpler in a lot of ways in that regard. You've got machinery that will do twice the work with less effort. I mean, just something silly like changing a 4-rotor tedder for an 8-rotor tedder. I went down and did a 9-acre field the first day we had the 8-rotor, and well, I did in about 25 minutes, and as I was pulling out the gate I was thinking, what have I missed? I did it so quick, I couldn't believe it. And it just took the sweat out of it. You don't go on a tedding on a weekend and think, oh God, I'm going to be sat on the tractor all day long. It's done in no time at all, and you can go and do something, you know. I just think there's a lot more pressure on farmers because there's less staff. You can't be ill. Like when we had 8 men, if somebody was ill or on holiday or something, there was somebody to step in, and it didn't seem to make such a dent, if you know what I mean. But now, if one of us is off, obviously the pressure is on the other 2, isn't it? You know, and well, that's a fundamental thing. And I think all the different requirements we have, stewardship and trying to do things for the environment, jumping through hoops and all that sort of thing. Like Red Tractor, I mean, I thought when they brought Red Tractor out, we were going to have a bonus for our food. I'm still waiting. Where's it gone? You know, it's nowhere, is it? And they say, oh, well, you can't sell your produce without Red Tractor. I wish I had a more pleasant version of that. But anyway.
And you've recently gone into the contracting world as well, have you? Or?
Well, yeah, we bought a big square baler back in 2012, I think it was, and we've just basically gradually got a bit bigger customer base. We do a fair bit now, sort of 5,000, 6,000 bales mark. Not huge, but since we've got the bigger tack and we've got across our own ground a bit quicker, we've managed just to do a bit of combine and a bit of drilling here and there, you know, when some customers ask if they need it. So
you are the baler man then, James?
Yeah, I tend to drive the baler. I mean, you know, Will jump on it if I'm busy doing something else, but yeah, as a rule, I tend to operate it. I do enjoy the baling, actually.
So what baler are you running?
It's a class 2200. I think she's a 2008, so she's not the newest baler out there, but we keep her well maintained. It was a tidy baler when we bought it. They've been well looked after. You know, it's done us really well over the years. We've made a few upgrades to it along the way. Fitted a auto greaser, which saved an awful lot of time. You know, I just fill it up and don't have to worry too much. There's a few, obviously, grease nipples that it doesn't cover, which you have to bear in mind and just not forget. We keep it cleaned off, blown off regularly, and check around it and get it looked at, you know, annually. And if there's anything that needs changing or adjusting or whatever, you know, it'll be done. And generally, she's pretty reliable.
To be fair, I have never seen such a tidy 22. I didn't know they still existed. But
well, I mean, all the kit we look after, credit due to my brother. He's very particular, you know, with making sure everything's cleaned off end of season. The polisher will even come out, you know, and he'll whip over the panels on this. And it is good because not only it looks good, but it does repel the dust. And if they're clean and tidy, you can see if there's anything amiss. Or, I mean, some people wouldn't put the time and the effort into that. They'd say, oh, you know, it's a waste of time. Why are you bothering? But you know, how we look at it is that it's well invested time. If everything's neat and tidy and that's your policy, just to keep things that way, you know, everyone's different, but it works for us.
Well, the baling side of things and the contracting side of the business then, has that been quite a recent thing, or?
Sort of the last 10 years, I suppose. Yeah, 10 years or so. We've built it up, haven't really sort of advertised too much. It's just sort of evolved naturally, you know, a few people locally and then speaking to people we know a bit further away. We've been going to for quite a while actually now, 1 or 2, and it's no trouble with these 50k tractors. You can travel, surprising what distance you can travel in an hour, you know, to get somewhere. And if you've got 100 acres or so to go and bale up, it works out, you know, it's worth travelling a little bit. It's enabled us to perhaps invest in kit that we maybe wouldn't have ordinarily if it was just our own ground we were covering. So that's been quite good really. It's been a good tool to propel us forward a bit more, if you like, with the machinery. I know Will's quite keen to push the combine inside of things, contracting and drilling as well. We've got the new Claydon drill, the 6-metre evolution, so he can get across the ground with that as well. That's frightening how quickly you can get on with that direct drill. So it works well. We've got a good balance. And
do you think nowadays it's easy for farmers to justify having their own baler this sort of size, or would you say it's more of a contractor's machine now?
Well, in my opinion, I think if you can invest in kit to help you out and do jobs yourself, I think it's got to be the way forward. With the weather being more and more of a problem and catching us out, we don't seem to have set seasons anymore. The windows for getting crops off are so short now that, yeah, if a farmer can help himself out, there's nothing wrong with using a contractor as well, but if he's got the means to do some himself, or certain jobs that he may have perhaps used a contractor for, why not consider it?
Because you see both sides of it.
Exactly, yeah.
I
mean, that's really the angle we came from, and we thought, well, if we've invested in the baler, why not offer the services out as well? I think from a contractor's point of view, the secret is to try not to take on too much. I think it's easy to agree to work and say, yeah, we can do that, and then of course if the weather changes you can leave a lot of people in a bad situation if you can't get to bale the straw and what have you. I think offering a quality service where you're happy to prioritise the customer even over your own straw, let your own straw get wet, if it keeps that customer happy, they're going to have you back next year. For us, that's something we take a lot of pride in. Just a quality service, and hopefully you retain the work for the following year.
It's a busy time of year for you. What have you got going on at the moment?
So at the moment we're into the wheat. Probably the earliest we've been into the wheat is at 5th of August.
It is mad early, and it's just
some years we haven't even started, and yeah, it's coming. It's not, this field we're in is not too bad. It's doing between 7.5 and 8.5 hectares, so this is sort of medium ground. But the rainfall, I tolled it up from the beginning of March till now. We've had 100 mil of rain, which is
just not enough.
Yeah, it's just nothing.
So is that the reason everything is just so early this year then, just the lack of rain?
Yeah, I think so, and the heat. Was it in June, I think, when it's hitting the 30-degree mark? I think it's just burnt everything off.
Has it affected yields quite dramatically, Will, or?
Yeah, well, the farm it just goes from black sand to sandy loam to a loam right through a heavy clay, and the light land has really suffered. We're in some spring barley, which had done about 1.7 or 8 tonnes to the acre, which is about the same really of bales really. So not too good. About 1.7 or 8 per acre of bales quadrant. So it's tough when it's like this. The previous year, that same field, I think had done over 3 tonne of spring barley, and we were at 4.5 bales to the acre, which was a bumper crop last year on that field. It was just the right timing for all the weather, I think.
This farm has the road outside the farm goes north and south, and it's actual divide because we got heavier ground behind and light sandy soil that side. There's a change in the parent rock. So we go right from a real coarse black sand to heavy. The banks on the farm where the cows go, they all dry out. They always have done in years gone by, but I think it's worse than I've ever seen before. And obviously our harvest, well, hay harvest and our cereals harvest has been greatly reduced. The rape did better than we thought. That's about the only crop that has done reasonably well, and we decided to bale the straw because straw's so short. and we've probably got about a third or half the amount of straw that we would normally have in a year. And of course it's noticeable when you fill a shed and you normally sell a load or two off the field or maybe have a stack, and we haven't sold any off the field or put any in the stack much, so that kind of brings it home. I think it's serious. I think Jeremy Clarkson said that it's catastrophic harvest, and anybody who ate food should be concerned, and I believe that's right. And one day we might be short, and people will really look up then. It's quite a concern.
Straw's a decent price this year, James?
Yeah, it's fairly good money, and I can see it creeping up. You can look at it in different ways. Yeah, it's fantastic if the price is good, but if you haven't got a lot of it to sell, you're not necessarily any better off compared to a normal year. So I think it's all about how people perceive the market, and on the one hand it can look a certain way to certain people, on another hand it look a completely different way. It just depends on which side of the coin you're looking at. The cows are on pretty much a winter routine now. They're on full barley straw every day. They're getting through a bale a day. We've had to buy some molasses to give them a bit more energy. There's some urea in it to give them a bit of protein as well. A few stock feed potatoes just to try and help them along a bit, because the calves aren't really growing that well. We introduced a creep feeder very early. Would never dream of putting it in this soon, but there's just absolutely nothing on the paddocks. They're stripped bare and they're brown, and it's a bit like a desert. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting one to see how we get on and come through the winter.
So the camera's here, Will, and your GPS has decided it wants to pack in, so the pressure is really on this week.
Technology for you, isn't it? It's wonderful when it works, but when it doesn't, it's a pain in the arse.
So tell us a bit about the machinery side of things here then. It looks like everything's got New Holland written on the side of it, am I right?
Yeah, you're right, pretty much, yeah. We do like the blues. We've been Ford New Holland since the late 80s. We had David Browns and Fiats before that, and we just like the product really.
And what machine are we sat in today?
This is a CR 9060. So it's the baby of the rotary combines. She's a narrow body combine. She's a little pocket rocket.
How long have you been running this machine?
This will be its 11th harvest, I think. We bought it in 2015.
Was this your first rotary machine then?
Yeah, we come from a TX65, and I think the first year we didn't know what I'd bought because I was still driving it like a straw walker machine.
Did you notice quite a difference?
Yeah, it's more the fact that you can drive it off the engine load really, more so than the straw walkers, where the straw walker machine you're limited by your speed and what was going over the back, whereas this you can run her up to sort of 80-90% engine load, and once you start going above that she will start putting stuff over the back in the wheat. The barley's a bit different, you do have to go a bit steadier in the barley, but no, she's a good machine. I do like it.
The combine we have is it's a 24-foot cut. The old one was a 20-foot cut. Used to go about 4 or 5k with that, and the extra 4 foot with this one you can go about 6k. It's a rotary against the old conventional straw walker combine. Helps us to get the harvest done quick, and we haven't got a dryer, so we wait till the warm weather comes and the moisture's gone down, and then we try and crack on and get as much done as we can at the lower moisture. So that's helped a big time.
What did you first think of the rotary when you first had that machine?
Well, to be honest, I was really quite sceptical. We went to an event and they were giving a run through of a rotary combine, and first I thought, oh, this will be interesting, you know. Everything they said seemed to make sense, and because it's got more thrashing area, so that's going to help with the capacity of it, and because it's a double rotor, the straws spread out between 2 rotors rather than just one like the case used to be. A lot of people have said, oh well, you'll smash the straw up and you know, it makes me smile a little bit because people have a conventional, fluff all the straw up on the straw walkers and then put it in a straw chopper and chop it to bits, which I think's a bit amusing, really. But each to their own. I mean, that's fine.
I see she's an elevation then, Will. What does that mean? What's the difference then?
Yeah, so she's a later 9000 series. I think they've got a bit more power, they've got a bit more throughput, and the sieves go in a different direction. The upper and lower sieve go in a different direction to each other. So you just get a bit more cleaning through the combine. It's just the gradual improvements that they make on each model, really.
So at the time then, she'd have been quite a higher spec?
Yeah, well, they didn't make so many models back then as they do now. I think there was only 4 in the CR selection then, and they later added the 9090. But yeah, I've put the latest screen in, and she's got GPS now, so when it works.
When it works.
This is on RTK, but I don't seem to have RTK at the minute. We're on EGNOS, but the line keeps deciding to move.
Are you pleased with her then, Will?
Yeah, definitely. We did look to change her a few years ago, but the combine we were after, well, I think someone else got there before us. So
what were you looking at?
It was a CR 8.90 on tracks, a 30-foot header.
So you're obviously thinking of going up in size then?
Yeah, I think when it comes back round again, I think we will definitely look at changing to a bigger one. Well, we have reduced our area a bit with SFIs, but I think if we get a bit more contracting, we'll definitely look to change it then. We do bits here and there, but a bit of consistent contracting, we'll definitely sort of think about it then to cover the ground. And you've got these short weather windows these days. You just need the capacity.
Obviously the machinery's grown slightly for you over the years as well.
Yes, absolutely. The boys said, oh, we've seen a nice second-hand 12-metre roll. So we sold the 6-metre and had this 12-metre. And you can roll about 70 acres in an afternoon. It's quite hilarious. And it just takes the pressure off, you know, when you're busy. And if the weather's against you, of course. It always rains when you want to go rolling, doesn't it? That's sod's law. The other thing is, boys bought this tractor behind me some years ago, and they said they'd paid a bit extra for the paint, and they said it was a retirement present. And I'm thinking to myself, I've heard of a few reasons to justify the purchase of something, but there's a good one, isn't it? You know, a real good one. Oh well, Dad, you look great in that tractor with the paint work, you know.
So what tractors are you running then, Will?
We've got 2 long wheelbase T7s, a 235 and a 260, but they're not standard, put it that way.
And how do you find the 260 handles then?
Well, it's more than on top of the job. I mean, this and the 235 have both been chipped, so I think this is running just shy of 300 horsepower. And the 235, it's not far behind, it's about the same really. It's pretty effortless on this thing with the auto command as well. The auto command gearbox is absolutely a dream to drive. When we first started out with this baler, we had a New Holland 7030, which had plenty of power. That was a good tractor, but it was only 40k, and it was the range command gearbox, so you're up and down the gears on the buttons. You know, every time you hit a big pile of straw where the combine stopped, you know, it'd stop you dead nearly, and you'd have to haul all the way through the gears and back up to speed. Whereas this, you just obviously, you know, pull the joystick forward and back and away you go. I can't grumble, it's a lovely tractor to drive on the baler.
Would you ever go away from auto command?
I don't think so. We had the 235 first, and after we had that, we said no, we'll never, you know, all the following tractors we have, we'll make sure they were auto command, and we, you know, hunted for particular tractors that had got it up and down country. I think it's like buying cars in a way, isn't it? You know, they're specs. There's so many options and specs now that you don't necessarily just land on one local. You have to sort of find them out and buy the right one that's right for you, you know.
And then we've got a T7200, which is my dad's tractor. He absolutely loves it, but I wind him up about it because I call it the rice pudding tractor. And I say to him that he couldn't put a skid off a rice pudding. And it winds him up proper, that does.
How long has he had that tractor for?
He's had that about 5 or 6 years now. It's a spray tractor.
So she wasn't a Blue Power from original then?
No, we had that done for him because he's at retirement age when we bought that. So we said it's his retirement present.
But he still drives it every day.
Yeah.
Here's your retirement present, but you've got to use it.
Yeah.
I like the tractor. These were white originally, and they've had them sprayed up grey. I suppose that's another retirement present, is it? It's a nice tractor to drive. I like the Vary box. I remember when we were looking at tractors we had a 235 on demonstration, and another firm asked us if we wanted to have a 200 on demonstration, and I thought it'd be a waste of time. But actually, I was quite surprised at how good the gearbox makes the tractor look. Obviously, with the reduction in power, it was obviously not quite up to the 235, but I thought the gap would have been wider than it was, and I thought it showed how good the gearbox was, because of course it selects the gear that's suitable for whatever you're doing. And of course, James finds the Vary box really good on the baler, because you're not buttoning up and down on one of the other gearboxes, you know, and you can slow down to nothing and then set off again, can't you, you know, so it makes it more versatile.
Do you like that now, or would you still go back to a couple of days on a David Brown?
Oh, well, no, I don't think I'll go back. I mean, I can remember spring tining years ago with a 995 with a cab that hadn't got a rear window in, and on our black sand you'd have a day spring tining. You'd come back, all you could see was the whites of your eyes and your teeth, and you'd look like a coal man because you're absolutely covered in black dust. I thought perhaps I'd gone down the mines, you know. And then of course when you have a shower, all the grey water would disappear down the drain. Probably didn't do your lungs much good either, breathing all that dust either, so no, I wouldn't like to go back to it, no.
And then we've got an old TM135, which is, yeah, I love it. I won't be selling that one. Just trying to convince Dad at the minute needs some bigger tyres on it, because she needs to have some new tyres on it. And of course, that's not standard. No TM is. And we do have an old David Brown 880 that I'm currently restoring. I think my grandfather bought that in about 1969 or 70. It's a 67 model, so let's just keep hold of that one and get her back to her former glory, and then get her doing some little jobs around the farm.
You like your classics as well then, Will?
Yeah, no, I do. Yeah, I'd love a 7810 and an 8630 or something like that.
Tell us a bit about the TM then. What's the story behind that tractor?
That was actually the spray tractor before the 200, and that replaced an old 6610 two-wheel drive. And we bought that in 2012, and that became Dad's tractor then, and he loves that one as well. But yeah, that did all sorts of jobs when we first had it. Ploughing, we had old Dowswell plough, subsoiling, and yeah, it's been a good tractor, that has.
How many hours has she done now?
It's come up to 6.5, so not too much. We bought it with 2,000 on or something, and it hadn't done anything. So as soon as we saw that for sale, we snatched at her.
That's low hours really, isn't it?
Yeah, when it was sort of 10 years old.
It's hard to find one like that now, isn't it, really?
Yeah, well, we did have a TM135, that was a lovely one, that was. And she'd only done 5,000 hours when we sold it. We traded it in for the 235, which was a good stepper. We needed that really. If money was no object, I would have wanted to keep that one as well. I think if we need an extra tractor, if we get a bit more contracting, we'll have to probably get another tractor with 50k, I would have thought, and but the TM isn't getting traded in for that.
And I heard that you had to drag a backup tractor out the other day to run the baler.
Yeah, well, the 235 had an AdBlue problems. This tractor had an issue as well, so this was our out of work, ready, waiting to be repaired. So the only 2 tractors left were the 200, and that had the row crop wheels on because it had still been on spraying. So we thought, what are we going to do? And Will said, well, you could put the TM135 on it. And I laughed. I said, you're joking, aren't you? That's not going to happen. And he went, why? It'll be fine. And I just said, no, you're kidding. And I thought about it, and I said, well, we can give it a go. And he said, it'll probably cope all right. And I hadn't got to go off baling straw for anybody else. There was nothing sort of booked in for those few days ahead. So, yeah, we put it on, and I was actually blown away with how well it coped. She just seems to just keep going. But I did discover that Will had turned the screw up on the pump a bit.
And didn't tell you.
Yeah, without saying anything. It's just a sort of typical trick he'd play. And he said, is that tractor doing all right? And I said, actually, yeah, it's surprising how, she just keeps going,
And he was sat there giggling.
He was, yeah. And he said, well, I have tweaked it a bit. And I said, oh, well, there you are then. So I don't know what power it's putting out now. I think it was over the 150 mark, so it's probably a bit more now.
It just goes to show they can still step up to the job. It's a tractor that'll sit in the yard and will do the odd job, but when it does need to step up, it still can.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. Everything moves on, and you think, well, new stuff's got to be better. But actually, you're right, yeah, you're absolutely right in what you say. It just shows they are capable, and when you need to call on them, it's good that they're there. It's a good, reliable tractor. Very rarely does anything break on that because it's so simple. I mean, with these things now, it's all sensors and switches, isn't it? And usually, 9 times out of 10, if you have a breakdown, it's not mechanical. It'll be software related, or So
yeah,
that TM, there's nothing like that on it. So
it's probably done a good as well.
Blown the cobwebs away.
Blown the cobwebs out of it.
Well, I was a bit worried about the gearbox. I didn't go up and down the gears too much. I tended to just leave her in one
Just
gear.
leave her there and hope she'll pull
I
through.
thought this is going to give the gearbox a bit of stick if I'm going up and down the gears. But
So you like your blues then? You wouldn't ever look anywhere else?
Yeah, I don't think I would change, to be honest. I've driven a fair amount of John Deeres in my time in Australia, right from the old ones to the new ones, and I didn't really dislike them, but it's just what you know, isn't it, and what you're used to.
Well, there's a saying, isn't there? It won't do unless it's blue. I guess to some extent it's what dealerships near to you to keep you going and all that sort of thing. They all do a job. It's like cars or whatever. They all do a job. They all have their problems. We had David Brown's years ago, and we've had Fiat and old grey Fergus years ago, and I think we had a Fordson Super Major that I learned to drive on.
So what's it like for you then? Obviously you've seen those kind of machines and now you're driving these. What's it like for you? Like, where do you think it's eventually going to go?
Well, I suppose it'll go robotic, won't it? But I probably won't be around to see that, thankfully. I don't know. They say hydrogen, they say it's the fuel of the future. One thing that is a bit irritating for me is some of the technology to get the machines to reduce their emissions causes hiccups. We had a 7030 that had a problem with the electrics on the viscous fan, and it kept telling the computer there was a fuel problem, and it would shut the tractor down into limp mode. Well, of course, it wasn't much good to you then because you got no power at it, and it took ages to find that out. And really, that's down to electrical, not mechanical. And years ago, most of your problems were mechanical. And today, they're more, it's a solenoid, or or the computer's playing up, or whatever it is. It's usually electrical. So it does make it more complicated to find. I mean, the technology is absolutely fantastic. I went round Basildon Tractor Works. William and I went. The amalgamation of Iveco and Fiat and all those things, and New Holland, all going amalgamated to produce a machine that, I mean, they're so much nicer now than they used to be. I think it's great. And my father would always liked his machinery. He would love some of the modern technology now, very much so. Yes.
Well, when I started, I think I learned to drive in an old 995 Cambridge roll-in with no back window.
That was proper farming.
Yeah, well, you had to pull the Cambridge rolls round by hand and keep turning around and doing a circle until you were close enough to hook it up. Yeah. So yeah, I've experienced some of the kit that's really old, and I think it's just getting the bigger kit really and making things more efficient. Having the mod cons as like the GPS, it just makes things so much easier.
And you've quite recently changed the farming system here. Well, you've recently looked at a Claydon.
Yeah, so like 3 or 4 years ago we had a demo of a Claydon. I've sort of toyed with the idea when back in sort of 2017, but my dad and my brother weren't too keen on it at that point. But we had a demo and we liked it. We haven't seen any hit on the yield. If anything, it's better. We're retaining more moisture and it just gets on with the job, and we can get through the acres a lot faster because we're not cultivating, ploughing. It's trying to really get the same end goal as you would cultivating or ploughing without all the inputs.
Trying to reduce passes and reduce costs, I suppose.
Yeah, it's just trying to get your efficiencies up and reduce your inputs. Trying to control what what you can control really, rather than you can't control the end price or your yield as if you got no rain.
Obviously the lads have been coming through with new ideas, new ways, new methods. What was your first thoughts on that? Are you quite impressed with what they've been doing recently?
It's been a good combination in terms of they brought some fresh ideas and kept me more current. I'm classed as one of the older ones now, and they've kept me a bit younger, I hope, and we seem to have quite a good combination of ideas, and we try and discuss things at length so we can get a good solution, and it seems to work a lot of the time. Yeah.
Exactly what drill is she then?
So it's a 6 metre evolution mounted. We can't really go trailed on some of our banks because pulling a trail would be they'll be crabbing down the banks, and then obviously that sort of reduces your the amount you can sort of go for really. And there was only a number that we could go for, and Claydon was one of them. We liked the product, and so we went for that.
You need a decent tractor on it then. What tractor do you put on that?
Well, we're a bit under tractored for it really, but because they're not standard, just managed to pull her. We've got the T7235 pulls that. We've had to put over a 2-ton weight block on the front and some wheel weights on the back. She does struggle a bit in the heavy ground up the hills, but she's not too bad now with it being mapped. So
I was going to say it'd be lifting her as well, wouldn't it? Like you want some weight about her.
Yeah, it's more the weight really that we need. Need the next size up, like a 315 or something, and it's the weight of the when you got a ton of wheat in it, or getting on for 1.5 tons in some cases. You want the extra weight. So
the Evolution then. She's running the discs at the front.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, the brain tank is a bit bigger, and she's a bit better in trash, and she can go straight into cover crops and things.
The discs are something you wanted then?
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think it's made it pulling a bit easier as well, so it cuts that slot.
Because I'm right in saying there was a grant for those drills at one time?
Yeah, there was. I think there still is, but at the time we were actually looking for a 4 metre, but at the time the grant for a 6 worked out better to buy the 6 metre Claydon than the 4. So it was a
no-brainer then,
no-brainer, yeah.
Was that a big factor in helping you make a decision on moving to direct drilling then?
Yeah, I think it did. It definitely had like for instance, a combination drill. You might be able to get the grant on the drill, but you can't get the grant on the power harrow. So we ran a Lenkin before, and there was nothing wrong with that drill. It was a really good drill. We liked it, but we just needed to cut our costs and our inputs.
Were the others a bit sceptical at first?
Yeah, and I think especially my dad, because of course he's used to more traditional style farming. I think after the first and second season of it, he absolutely loves it. He says now, I can't believe what that drill can do. You know, you think you drill into certain things, you think, God, that's not going to come up, but it comes up just as well.
Well, I used to love ploughing. I used to think that was great, but I don't miss it. We used to plough our land, and then you'd have to basically squash it down again to get it in a state to drill it. And the beauty of not ploughing is you don't have to do that. And what I've noticed, particularly because I do quite a lot of spraying on the tram lines, because the Claydon leaves like a firm ridge, you can travel when it's rained quite a lot and not leave ruts. I used to leave a lot more ruts after the ploughing, but of course it's the ground's aerated in the slots that it leaves, and so it helps travelling, and that's a great thing. But it's about keep trying to move forward, isn't it? You can't. One of my sayings is, if you don't like change, you better not get older. So, you know, you've got to go with it. But it does concern me. Diesel was about 10 or 11 pence a litre in 1998, and now it's 70, 80, 90 pence. So that's 8 times as much. And then when you take a tonne of corn, which 30 years ago was £130 a tonne easy. So really, on the scale of what the diesel's done, if the wheat kept in pace with that, it should be about £700 or £800 a tonne, which of course it's not. A tonne of corn would pay a man's wages for a week years ago, but now barely pay him for a day. I think that's such a shame, and it puts a lot more pressure on the young people coming to farming, and I do feel for them, and I wish there was something I could do to change that. And I don't see how we can carry on producing food, something for nothing scenario, you know. If a car manufacturer costs more to produce a car, they push the price of cars up. Well, it doesn't seem to happen with food. And everybody takes food for granted in my eyes. All your electric and other creature comforts fritter into insignificance if you've got no food. And it's really important for people to understand that, I think.
So exactly how does that drill work then? Is it because it's running a leg?
So you've got the front disc that cuts the slot, and then you've got a front leg that alleviates the compaction, and basically is a routing slot, which you can adjust the depth on that leg, you know, for different things such as beans or oilseed rape. You obviously want to have more of a deeper slot for that. And then we're running the A-share on the back, which puts a band of seed either side of that slot, and then you've got the tines on the back and the paddle boards that level it back over.
And it's obviously fit into your system all right, and you've adapted to it?
Yeah, definitely. You know, when they say direct drill, it's not really, you know, you can't just go, oh well, I'm just going to direct drill into all this. You've got to know the farm, you've got to know where the compaction is, and you need to alleviate that. It will alleviate so much compaction, but you know, if you've got deeper, sort of 10 or 12, 15 inches of compaction, you need to put the mole plough or subsoiler through it. I don't think any system's a fail-safe system, and you've got to make it work for you really and adapt to what that system does.
I see you've slightly modified the drill as well.
Yeah, we've added an air seeder on the back, so we can put a companion crop in, or slug pellets, or anything like that really, just to go with all these new SFIs. And the drill runs variable rate, which we found has helped a fair whack with altering the seed rates and things like that. The whole farm's really variable rate, and nitrogen, P&Ks. Yeah, we found that it's just helped. It's helped a lot. You can, you know, on the computer, you can sort of tweak a few different things here and there, and it definitely has helped. You know, you can put a high seed rate where it doesn't normally grow, and it just seems to help the job along a bit and keep the crop growing in areas where it didn't before.
Are you putting a companion crop in with your rate?
Yeah, so we're putting in buckwheat and clover.
How do you find that? that's working for you?
Yeah, no, that's actually worked out a lot better than I thought. The buckwheat has grown up ahead of the oilseed rape, and I think it's sort of confused the flea beetle and the slugs, and it's kept the pigeons at bay because they don't like getting the wings wet and landing in the crop.
I see you're running the swath roller on the front as well.
Yeah, recently had that last year. It is good. Certainly where there's monstrous swaths behind some of these 30-foot header combines when we're off contract baling, it can be enough for this baler. That's one thing we said, if we did change this baler, it would be so that we could get a wider pickup reel to be on top of these, the swaths behind these big combines.
Is that just times moved away from us slightly, do you think? Or?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, generally, there isn't many swaths that it can't cope with. Last year was a particularly good straw year, and baling some oat straw, behind these big combines, crikey, it was making me sweat a bit. I had to be on the ball, I daren't take my eye off for a second because, you drove one way to the left or the right by an inch or two, it'd be enough for it to build up and block. So that was interesting. But the swath roller, it is good. I don't use it all the time. It just depends on how it's feeding. I've used it for hay. It's been quite good on the hay, where if someone's rode me up a big swath. But actually, I've had a chance to use it a little bit, and I like having it on as a tractor bumper. It came very standard. There was no lights or field lights or marker lights, road lights on it at all. And Will's fitted it all out, and you do feel a lot safer with it on. When you're on the main road and some of these fast back roads, your cars come upon you quick. We've got the beacons on there and side lights, and when you're pulling out of gateways in the dead of night on these main roads, quite often it's completely blind. You can't, with tall hedges, you can't see what's coming. So it's got those side markers on, and it just gives you that bit more confidence that if there's a car coming, it's going to see you coming out to the main road. Yeah, and then of course we've got the spikes on to load up with string. So if I'm going further afield and off for the day, I haven't got to worry about anybody running me any string. If there's a lot of straw to bale, I can load it up, and I've got the confidence that I can just keep going and just draw it off the front as and when I need it.
Do you try and load on the move all the time then, Will?
Yeah, as much as we can really. When she's running at a maximum, we'll be using 60 odd litres an hour. So if you think you've got to unload 10, 15, 20 times in a day, 5 minutes, 2 to 3 or 4, 5 minutes for each load, it can add up to sort of 60 litres of fuel really. So it definitely pays for itself.
To be fair, Will, these trailers, they'd be a good age, wouldn't they? Some of these trailers you're running.
Yeah, the Griffiths. Well, we didn't buy the Griffiths new. That's 2005. More used for muck really. And then we got the Marston, which is a 2008, and then the AW, which is I think that's 2015 as well. So that's 10 years old now. Surprising how the time passes.
I've never seen such a tidy Marston anywhere.
Yeah, well, we try and wash them off after every time we load muck, so
I suppose it makes a difference storing things inside as well over the years, doesn't it?
Oh,
really?
for sure. Yeah, we try and put as much of the machinery in the barns as possible really. It's a bit more difficult this time of year when you got straw in the barns and grain in all the sheds, but yeah, we try and squeeze them all in.
Do you try and keep on top of the kit then? I can see from looking around, it's obviously a big thing to try and keep them pretty mint.
Yeah, no, they get washed off really quite regularly, especially sort of after fertilising. They get pretty mucky after that, but just try to keep on top of them really. If you leave them too long, they just take ages to wash off. So, and then when you want to work on them, it's just you haven't got a load of muck and soil to dig out to get whatever you need to service, or if they break down you can see oil leaks and this, that, the other. So, and we're pretty hot on the servicing really, try and do as much preventative maintenance as possible. I think that really helps with the breakdowns. It sort of future-proofs yourself to a certain degree.
Do you do a lot of the maintenance yourselves, or?
Yeah, I do quite a bit, but we have got a chap who's an ex-New Holland technician, and he's really good. He knows his stuff about the New Hollands, and he's sort of he's been coming to us for 10 years now, and he just knows what he's doing, knows all the quirks with him, and he makes sure we staying on top of the maintenance.
And your quite involved in the stock side of things here, James.
Yeah, Will doesn't mind doing the stock, but if he can go and service a tractor or something like that,
Hide in the workshop.
yeah, he will, and that's fine because the stock's never really been his thing. I've always really enjoyed the stock work. Equally, I enjoy the arable side, but yeah, the stock's, I suppose, a real passion for me. We were more of a mixed traditional livestock stroke arable farm, and we've obviously specialised more in cereal production, oilseed rape, since we gave up the dairy in 2006. We've moved away from commercial suckler herd into native breed British whites. I've heard of about 30 head of those, and it works well because it ties in with the arable side. These British whites are very easy to look after. They look after themselves most of the time, really. You don't have to assist with calving, things like that. So if we're busy planting spring corn and things like that, you know, if we've got cows calving, we haven't got to worry too much. It doesn't draw us away from the arable, and I tend to look after those mainly. But we all sort of get stuck in, and we don't have set jobs as such. We've got to sort of change round and what have you. We're flexible like that. So.
And why does the boss man? Why does he love that Kramer so much?
You're gonna have to ask him that. I don't actually know. I think we've always had those smaller shovel loaders from Kramer back from the 312s, really, from the 80s, and he just loves. I think he just loves digging holes with them.
Is that why his nickname is the Kramer Man?
Yeah, that's why he's called the Kramer Man.
Right.
Any chance to move some soil, dig some holes, move some brash, he's on it.
The Kramer is a machine that I particularly like. The boys call me the Kramer Man, I don't know why. The only thing I'll say about it, there's two things that infuriate me. I love the machine. It's such a manoeuvrable machine, and you can get into places you can't with a big telescopic. The one thing that irritates me is all the technology trying to get a clean burn on the diesel and so on. It keeps bringing up error codes, and then of course when you just want to get on, that happens, doesn't it? And then you have to put it on a lean burn. The other thing is, a lot of companies have spent loads of money on trying to manufacture cabs with low decibels. So what did Kramer do with this machine? They put a reversing beeper in the cab right next to your flipping ear hole. I'm thinking, oh dear, somebody needs to have a rethink. We had to put some tape over it to cool it down a little because it was a bit irritating.
And what do you like about the Kramer?
Just its manoeuvrability and versatility, and it's a wolf in sheep's clothing as far as I'm concerned, because it's surprising what it'll do. It's great for moving soil, and you can do pallets and straw and all sorts with it. It's pretty versatile, and I mean, not that other machines aren't, but I just happen to particularly like this. We've had Kramers for quite a number of years now. We used to have the little 312s, and they got only reverse steering, and a guy came to pick up some bagged potatoes on pallets, and he said to me, "Oh, you're not going to load me with that, are you?" And I said, "Why?" And he said, "Oh, you'll have the pallets on the back hanging off the end. There's no side shift." So when I'd loaded it, I'd just drive in like that. There was 2 or 3 foot on the back, and he's going, "Well, I'd never have thought you'd have loaded." I said, "Well, it's so versatile and manoeuvrable, isn't it? You know." So there we go.
And you're running the stubble rake as well?
Yeah, so we basically put that through the stubbles to try and it's sort of get an inch worth of tilth on the top, more to sort of get any chit going and sort of spread out the straw if it's chopped. And it definitely helps with the weeds as well, because you go in a couple of times, and when it's chitted, and it will take out, not 100%, but it will take out a fair bit of the regrowth. Yeah, we find it's a pretty good tool really, and I think we're looking at putting an air seeder on it, I think, to try and establish cover crops of it. So that'll be a lot quicker because you can go about 18 or 20k with it. It only uses about 2 litres of fuel a hectare, so it's pretty cheap to run.
So really what you're doing here then is a good example to show that it does work.
Oh yeah, for sure. I definitely, I would definitely recommend it if people are sort of umming and ahhing to go down that road. If anyone wants to try it, we can soon get the drill out and go and do 10 or 20 acres with someone to try one year.
Of course, all the bell lugging's another thing to keep on top of this time of year as well.
Yeah, I like the bale lugging actually, because with these quadrant bales, it's surprising how quickly you can clear the ground. We tend to just sort of stop doing everything else and we'll say, right, this morning we'll clear a whole load of straw. The 3 of us get onto it with 2 trailers, somebody on the loader in the fields, and then whoever's trailering back to the shed, there'll be a loader in the shed, and it's surprising we can clear some sort of acreage,
And I hear the main bale trailer is a bit like Trigger's broom, is it? Will was telling me it's got quite a history behind it.
Yeah, that trailer is probably older than Dad. It's been on the farm ever since I was a kid, for as long as I can remember. And the amount of different sets of axles and wheels and that it's had on it is just beyond belief. More and more metal gets added to it. It gets extended and lengthened, and it's seen some sort of fabrication in its time. I mean, we did discuss moving it on, but really it got that much age to it, and kit's so expensive, isn't it? And Will's, in fairness to him, he's pretty handy with the welder. He's all self-taught, I think. I mean, obviously he went to college and things, but his experience is just sort of trial and error, and he's made a lot of stuff. I don't mind doing a bit of welding, but as you know, I prefer to be working with a stock or something like that. So Will's he's built a lot of the kit for the loaders, the bale spikes and things like that. Actually, I think that was one of his college projects from years ago. He had to build something, so he built one of the spikes for one of the Kramers, and it's still going.
Obviously, you got your brother full time here. Your dad is pretty much still full-time, isn't he, from what I can see?
Yeah, Dad's 72 now. He has done less. He's gradually done less over time. It's helped having a bigger kit, really. It's put less of a load on us all, really, and he's done less.
What is it like working with family?
It can get heated, put it that way. It can get very heated at times.
But you all get along, all in all?
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. It works well, really. James does more the livestock, does all the hay deliveries. Obviously I do the combine, he does the baling, and I'll do most of the work on the machinery and the maintenance. So it works well, really. Yeah, I think we'd be lost without my dad, for sure. The stuff he knows, the knowledge he's got and the experience, it definitely is a big help.
Generally speaking, as a family, we do work well. I think any family farm will probably agree that it's challenging. You're all business partners, you're all work colleagues, and when you're family members as well. When things go well, it's great. It's such a great feeling. If you're feeling happy and content, it's a good feeling as a family unit. And then of course I think on the flip side, if things aren't going well and you've got the weather against you, the weather's on our side this year in terms of getting the harvest done, but of course it's been so dry, so the yields are down and adds stresses and pressures. It's a challenge, and I think any farming family that can make a good go of it, a good job of it, it's you have to work at it, like anything, and nothing's easy, is it, anymore? But yeah, we get on well, and I think we're lucky in that regard, because it's not for everybody. I don't think everybody could work, every family could work as business partners and colleagues. It doesn't necessarily follow, does it? So I think I do feel lucky that we do our best, we work hard and make the best job we can of it.
It has its advantages and has its disadvantages. We all get on fairly well, I think, under the circumstances. I obviously worked with my father, and I remember having a big stonking row with him one day in the middle of the yard, and we did an about face and walked off in different directions with a big cloud over our heads, and about 2 hours later we were talking as if it never happened, you know. And I think if you can't do that, you probably shouldn't be working together. And I think, you know, we all have our moments, don't we? But you have to move on, and I think we get on quite well. There was a young man who said to me, he said, how do you get on with James? I said, oh, I get on all right. Why, what's the matter? Have you had an up and a down with your father or something? And he said, oh, you could say that. I said, oh dear. I said, I'll tell you one thing I've learned. If you feel uncomfortable, he probably does as well. And the young fella, the look of relief on his face when I said he's probably feeling uncomfortable as well. And it's right, it's important to get along, isn't it? And life's too short anyway, so that sums it up, doesn't it? Yeah, for me anyway.
So how many years have you been combine driver then, Will?
Probably, I reckon I was about 15 or something like that on the old TX32.
They were good machines.
Yeah, and it was a good machine, yeah. I'm not sure about the air con on them at the time. So you'd need to wear goggles because the amount of dust that came through them.
The cabs have moved on slightly, haven't they?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, with one of my cons, you don't feel like you've done such a hard day's work when you've gone 10 a.m. till 12, 1, 2 or 3 o'clock at night.
So you've learned how to get yourself a decent sample over the years then?
Yeah, New Orleans have always been good for the samples, I think. When I've seen samples from other combines, I think New Orleans is definitely up there.
What goes into getting a decent crop of wheat these days?
Well, we have actually changed agronomist about 4 or 5 years ago, and we've put a bit more emphasis on nutrition and making the timings a lot better, making sure that, you know, when you know the crop wants the fertiliser, that you've got to put it on at least a week, 10 days before, because we're running granular, you know, and it's about timings with the rain and where the crop is, what stage the crop is at, you know, and that's definitely helped for us. I don't know, it hasn't helped Dad though, because he's in and out with a spray a lot more often, so he's not too happy about it, but he loves his blue power, so...
Keeps him off the Kramer for a couple of hours a day, does it? And what would be the next step for your business here? Where would you like to see yourselves in a few years' time?
I hope we want to try and increase the contracting side of things. Again, you've got to have the right kit to do the job.
And you like a job done properly, Will?
Yeah, I can't stand doing something a half job, and this is why I'm a bit of a perfectionist. You can see by some of the older kit now. And then when you can't control the rain and your crop's not performing, it's it does go against the grain a bit.
Are you going to look into expanding into other areas of contracting? I see you got the Fusion in the yard as well.
Yeah, so we bought that. Basically, we had an old class Roland, and we just wanted to manage what goes in a bale a bit better, so we bought the Vario, and it's got a weigher on it, so we can sort of have a close eye on what kind of bale weights we're putting out, and it just gets them more consistent. And then when you want to go in some silage, you can make some good hard firm bales for the cattle.
Father's not getting any younger. I mean, we still keep him working. He's desperate to carry on. He loves it. It's hard to keep him off the tractor seat, you know. We have to sort of say to him, look Dad, you worked really late last night. Why don't you just take it easy today and, you know, make sure you have a lunch break. And he's not going to be able to keep going forever. He's going to have to slow down at some point. So I think we'll probably have to look at employing somebody full-time. That might give us the opportunity to push the contracting on a bit more and take on a bit more. I think for us, keeping costs down, looking to invest in more kit, keep the efficiency as good as it can be. I think that's probably the main tool that we've got in our toolbox, is concentrating on being as efficient as possible to save on costs and time. We're not in control of the end prices as a rule, so we don't have much choice. You know, that's all we can do. I think just probably keeping our options open and being prepared to change things going forward and keep adjusting and adapting.
I'd rather wear out than rust out. If I had to sit around, or I could find stuff to do if I wanted to. but I don't really want to. I quite still enjoy it, and the bones creak a bit more, but I think I'll probably carry on as long as it's reasonable to do so, and when I feel as if I'm in the way, I'll go before I'm pushed. So yeah, there it is. Yeah.
When you're lost and no one's there, and you wonder who even cares, oh, come back to your breath, don't drift away from me. I will come down to remind you of before. We can fly away from here. We can stay close, my dear. Swept up and away from all our fears. How are we supposed to know on our own? Together we can go slow. Why don't you leave it all to me? I know how hard it all can be. I'm here to hold your hand through this. Whoa, I'll be beside you all alone. My love for you is so strong. We're right where we belong.
Okay, sorted.
Yeah.
I think we're done.
Right, lovely.
That was very good. Thank you.
Oh well.
There we go. Got it. It's safe. Right.
So,
I can.
So who's the best actor?
Who's won the award?
Yes, who's going to get the Oscar?
Oh dear.